So one aspect of the formal Vipassana meditation is staying there for the full 10 days, which ends up being 12 days because you check in on usually a Wednesday night, and then your first full day is Thursday, and then you are in the meditation all the way through 10 days, and then you leave the 12th day. So I want to talk about what it's like to be there for those 10 days, what I call living like a monk or a nun. So here's the little pamphlet that they give you. It has the schedule on it, which I memorized very well. Every single morning you wake up at 4 o'clock. By 4:30 you are meditating either in your room or in the hall, and that's for 2 hours. So 4:30 to 6:30 is meditating. 6:30 to 8 they let you eat breakfast, and then at 8 o'clock there's the first group meditation in the hall until 9, and then from 9 to 11 there's another meditation either by yourself or in the hall, and then at 11 to 12 there's the lunch break, which is also the last time that you can eat a full meal. And then from 12 to 1 there's the first real break, where you can also talk with the teacher if you'd like to about any advice or any kind of guidance on the meditation. And then from 1 to 2:30 we once again meditate either in the hall or our room. And then from 2:30 to 3:30 is the second group meditation where you're required to be in the hall for an hour. And then 3:30 to 5 you have another option of being in the hall or your room. 5 to 6 is the evening tea break. And then 7 to 8:15 is the teacher's discourse, which is a video of watching Goenka speak on Vipassana as well as other life lessons. And then after that we have one more night meditation, and then you go back to your room at 9 and lights out by 9:30. So it's a very rigorous schedule. So first I was thinking, like, how can I do this for 10 days? And I'm going to be bored out of my mind. But the schedule is so rigorous and, in my opinion, so well put together that it actually flows very nicely, and I almost was never really bored. On the other hand, not only not being bored, but I was very much engaged and challenged by this schedule. So that's the schedule in order. But to break it down for you, you basically get 3 breaks where you can eat, and that's breakfast, lunch, and then that tea break. You get 3 times where you have the option to meditate in the hall or in your room. So if you're more comfortable, you don't feel like sitting in the hall, you can go to your room. And there's only 3 required meditations where you are in the hall, where it's much more formal, and those are for an hour each. And there's that one break in the middle from 12 to 1. So basically that's the schedule. And then there's the living like a monk. These are the vows that you take when you join a Vipassana meditation. They're called the Precepts. There's 5 and then 3 more for older students. And they are to abstain from harming any being, to abstain from stealing, to abstain from all sexual activity, to abstain from telling lies, and to abstain from intoxicants. And for the old students, they're also not allowed to eat after noon, and not sleep on comfy beds, as well as not to have any bodily decoration. So most importantly, they emphasize to exercise noble silence, which literally means not speaking to anyone, including eye contact. Because I'm a singer, I'm used to taking vows of silence, and I've learned how to really find peace and actually enjoy not having to speak, and I've learned how to communicate using hand gestures. But when I learned that that includes no eye contact, that really tripped me out, because I've never not looked people in the eye, even when I'm doing vows of silence, and I just really wonder what that would be like. But let me tell you that the not talking and the no eye contact was actually very easy, and not only easy, but a pleasant way to be for a while. Even when we would eat and when we would, walk around to the different places we needed to be, it was very peaceful, and it was easier to just kind of be by yourself. And because everybody else is doing it with you, it wasn't weird. Like normally when you go into a place full of strangers, you feel that pressure to be like, hey, how are you? What's your name? Where are you from? What do you do? Blah, blah, blah. And that's all fine and dandy too, but we're doing that all our lives. And it is a pressure. It is a tension. So to not have to do that was a nice little break, and it helped me think more inward and just, again, not have any distractions. And I see now that if you really want to get into a deeper sense of self and really get deep into the practice of meditation, not having distractions, including your own speaking or listening to somebody else, is extremely important. And in addition to the noble silence, we also weren't allowed to write or read. And let me just tell you now that I could have easily broken that rule and written something down or read something, but I told myself that if I'm going to be there, I might as well go all out. I'm always writing stuff down. I'm one of those people that really needs to have everything in list form. So I allowed myself that break to just allow myself to retain information, trust my brain to retain the information, and be able to process it without having to see it or intellectualize it. Oh, and the other part of living like a monk was the modest dress. When I packed for this trip, it was the fastest I ever did because I had brought no makeup. I didn't have to worry about clothes. All I brought was comfortable clothes, pajamas, and sweats, because while I love dressing up and I love fashion, I love style, I love expressing myself like that, it was also a nice break from not having to worry about what you look like at all. Just to seriously worry about hygiene, and that's it. It's like we identify ourselves so much with these external things, and there's a fine line between it expressing yourself or defining you. So it was, again, a nice break from that. And then there was the eating. When I heard that we are not going to eat past noon, I freaked out. Before this Vipassana, for 2 months, I tried really hard not to eat past 5 just to see what it was like. I was able to do it a little bit, but of course I broke it many times. I'd probably say 50% of the time I actually did end up eating dinner at like 6 to 8 o'clock, which is not bad, that's normal. So I just wondered, other people that may not have, worked on the discipline of eating right and exercising, like how could they survive? How could they not be irritated after not eating past noon? But the first day when I walked in and I got to talk to other people before the noble silence began, the ones that have done it before told me that you just feel so nourished and the food is so satisfying that you really won't need to eat past noon. But the first 2 days, I loaded up my breakfast and my lunch plate probably 3 times more than I usually do. Like, I would get 1 whole plate of salad, and then 1 whole plate of the main dish, and then like a side dish or whatever. And then I'd feel really full. And because there were no distractions, and because I wasn't moving around or talking like I do in normal life, I just felt gross. Day 2, I did it 1 more time. And then in the teacher's discourse, Goenka actually addressed that we shouldn't be doing that in order to meditate, you should be 75% full. So day 3, I said, all right, I'm going to challenge myself and not eat too much. And I ate maybe just 1 plate. And then by the 4th day, it was so easy that I literally ate half of everything that I ate. It really let me be aware of how much I really need to nourish my body, because that's the purpose of eating. We definitely eat for enjoyment and socialization, but in a place of meditation, you really learn to eat just for what satisfies you nourishment-wise. So following the 5 precepts, the noble silence and no eye contact, dressing modestly, and the strict schedule, as well as the limited times you can eat and the amount you can eat, all those things were actually really enjoyable and a really beautiful part of this experience. And they all boil down to allowing yourself the right environment to deepen the practice. But what I want to say is that it really let me feel what it's like to just be present, to be in the now. Because I was so in the now when I was eating, I felt every bite, I tasted every morsel, I felt it nourish my body, and it made it a meditative experience of eating breakfast and lunch. And in between meals, I would always walk. We had this little desert pathway to walk around. It was a pretty big course, and I went around 3 times after every meal. It took about half an hour. And every step I felt the wind, I saw nature, I felt sky, I felt the sun. Stuff that we can all feel on a regular basis on a beautiful day. But I have to say that I never felt it to that degree. I never noticed things to that degree, hence the seeing things as they really are. So that's living like a monk. Next, I'll talk about the technique itself. Namaste.